Of course. Can you tell me where to find Menelag?
Certainly, sir. You go uphill past the Golden Ribbon and Sweet Dragon's Blood. What's that? You! Come back! Through here, hurry! Ah!
Hello everyone! I'm running out of creative ways to say hello at the start of these videos, so for this video, I'm just gonna say hello because I'm pretty sure I haven't started the video by just saying hello. And hello is technically a greeting, so we're allowed to greet each other like that, and so hello! For this video, I wanted to talk about the cinematics, the systems, and all the stuff I had to do to fix them, because I've been working for like the last few months on just the cinematics. It's been a real pain. But as I started recording this dev diary, it started going to 35 minutes long, and I can't justify putting out a 35-minute video again after the 1K subscriber special being a 30-minute long video. So we're going to split this thing into two parts. This is going to be part one, and we're basically going to be laying the foundation for everything I'm going to be talking about in the second part, which is going to specifically talk about how things are in Dark Messiah regarding cinematics. I'm going to be talking about what the cinematic types are, how they work, what I did to fix them, and then what I'm going to do as my end goal for these cinematics, because there are some things I'd like to do to make them work well in co-op, and I feel like you guys enjoyed that insight, especially after 1K subscriber special video and your feedback on that. Before we get into all that though, I figure I gotta give you guys a status update because it's been a while since you've heard from me, and no doubt people are probably panicked, scared, the mod's dead, all sorts of things like that. So let's talk status here. The team and I have all just been busy with a bunch of things. People going to school, people going to work, people going to school and work. It's a real mess. So we're slowly but surely pushing through our free time. Alex just pushed up an SDK update regarding physics, so hopefully we're going to be able to start integrating some more physics entities and custom physics stuff in. And Riddick has been working on the model whenever he can for the undead priestess to finish off her armor sets. Meanwhile, I've been, like I said, been digging with the cinematic stuff, but it's been slower for a number of reasons, whether that be confusion or just in general my job sort of slowing me down. But we knew this going in, and I just feel like we've got to be transparent with each other, and I got to tell you guys this stuff so you guys know we're still working on it. We're still motivated. It's just a problem of that, you know, just getting the time for it, right? And then there's another update with Ubisoft. You know, I haven't had any remarkable contact from Ubisoft in a while. It's a little disheartening because it exactly has been a while. But what's on the line here would be incredible if we get some news for it. Outside of just releasing the mod and SDK on its own, there's bigger things, and hopefully I'll be able to come back sooner than later with some of that news. Hopefully it all pans out, but just want to also let everybody know that I haven't heard much from Ubisoft, and I will continue to wait patiently. You know, we're not owed anything with what we're doing here. We're doing this because we're doing it. They don't have to even care, but they're doing their part, and we should really be appreciative of the time that's going in. So yeah, just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page with that stuff, and I think that is all I have for that update, so let's get into it. To preface this entire discussion and basically act as a disclaimer for, I guess, pretty much every dev diary I've ever put out, I want to talk a little bit about reverse engineering, and specifically I want to talk about how I go through the process of basically reporting everything that I report in these dev diaries, because you're going to hear me, and you've probably heard me, in all these dev diaries make some sort of statement, some sort of assumption, some sort of grand discovery, all of which I assume to be a fact, when in reality, because of the nature of reverse engineering, they are not facts. They're at best educated guesses with some level of certainty. The only people that have 100% certainty are the people with the source code, and unfortunately, that ain't us. So it's important that I talk about this, because while I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on with the cinematics in this game and starting to make it work towards cooperative and multiplayer, It took a while. It took a lot of guesses. It took a lot of assumptions. It took a lot of fact checking with the Source SDK and then building a case based on the things that we already know or the assumptions we know are true going into the Source engine. But when you go through this process, I can't tell you how many times I was wrong. I was finding something out, thinking it works like this. I test it out, I'm 100% sure, and bam, it doesn't work. Something ends up going wrong. And I want to be, you know, I want to keep myself honest here with everybody, because misinformation is the antagonist to education. I want to make sure that everybody knows that while I may be talking about stuff like this with a level of confidence that make it seem like he must be right, in reality, it isn't a fact. You know, I do my part for these videos throughout all this stuff to make sure I'm researching everything, I'm checking with the SDK, I'm consulting whenever possible. I am running my own experiments to confirm the theories I have, but in a future video it may change, and I'll make sure everybody knows that. You know, but this is the process of reverse engineering, and I just want that to be up front, because while sometimes you see us make really big progress and then I start talking about something I worked on before, it's exactly because of that. I've heard a colleague of mine say, and I love this phrase already, it's breaking the code until it works. And that's pretty much what we're doing. We're breaking the game until it works the way we want it to. And that's really it. Like, that's very important. So I wanted to make sure that I was upfront with that. So there are two major players when it comes down to the cinematics, and the first one is specific to Dark Messiah, and frankly it's not even just the cinematics this thing is affecting, but everything that you do in Dark Messiah, and it's simply called the combat state. The little property that sits on the player and holds a number value, and that number value equates to a bunch of things that you might be doing. You climbing up a ladder? That's a combat state. Are you standing completely still? That's a combat state. You swinging with your short sword and you're on the second swing? That's a combat state. Crouching with the staff? That's a combat state. You get the point. Each combat state is active based on what you're doing, and the reason why it does that is because of the body presence that Dark Messiah has. Each of those combat states is sending an animation to various different components of your player, whether that be your view model, so your arms and the animations playing on it, or your player model, basically making you run, making you crouch, making certain view models be invisible because you're in a certain state, etc. And this combat state also, by that logic, affects cinematics very greatly, because while there are overlapping functions for certain cinematic elements in Dark Messiah, they're tweaked ever so slightly based on what combat state you're in, whether that be completely cutting off a certain control scheme of yours, letting you look around with your mouse, you know, or just locking you in, a clash state where you're spamming click, right? Things like that, all done by combat state. So understanding that is crucial to understanding how the cinematics that are built into Dark Messiah work, or one part of how they work. And trust me, there's a lot of them. We have a whole manifest of this thing, and it gets really complicated when you're reverse engineering. You just see a bunch of numbers, but once we got this manifest set up, we were able to really dig deep and understand more of what's going on. Not only just for cinematics, but as we were approaching different problems. In fact, a lot of the co-op fixes do have combat states in mind before we even knew what combat states were. I had to fix things like with the rope bug, having to fix the ropes when you climb up and down and changing the positions based on who the host was instead of being your position as a player. These things were controlled by combat states, and using them as basically alarms that the player's about to do something actually helped out a lot in creating a consistent solution. So we're all learning a little something new, not too new, but very important. But there is a second part. It's integral to the Source engine, and that is going to be the scene system. Let's get outside of the box and talk about movies for a minute. you know, we all know how movies work, or plays if you prefer that one. They have a script. The script is basically a sequence of interactions and actions that some actors must play out in a specific order, whether that be dialogue, whether that be movement, etc., etc. And these are all cut into little slices that are called scenes, which are usually dictated by a certain location, right? A video game, or in this case, the source engine, uses pretty much the same logic. The scene system in the source engine is basically your way of creating a script. Your actors, they might be players, they might be NPCs, but they're given a list of actions that they must perform in a certain order. Take in a play, you have somebody enter stage left, they have to look at the audience, look to the left, say some line of dialogue, and they must run off and exit stage right. Very simple stuff. That list there is your script, and the source engine has these script files. I believe they're called VCD files in the source engine. And they take those actions and they funnel them and they direct them into functions of the scene system so that those functions can then spread them out across the actors that they're targeting. And then they run their own functions to run the actions. And I've used actor in saying that they could be NPCs or players because in our case in Dark Messiah, one of the actors is a player. It's target name player, or sometimes player first if it refers to the view model. And that's sort of the difference there. Every actor in a movie has a name that you can refer to them by. That's their character. If the player is in the game, then they are referred to as a player. And I don't want to get very specific into how these scene system actions actually find their marks and all sorts of things like that. But let's just keep it simple. They have a target. They have an action that the target needs to do. They send the action through the scene system to the target. The target runs the corresponding function, and then they perform the action. Simple as that. And in Dark Messiah, whether or not it is a cinematic that is pre-rendered or not, they still need to work through the scene system in some form. So breaking into how that scene system works is crucial to fixing cinematics, because obviously we're getting into the DNA of the movie. We're getting into the DNA of the cinematic. But what made it annoying is that what I found is that Dark Messiah has ever so slightly tweaked the scene system to add support for some of those things, like for example, the player's first person model doing some cinematics and being an actor. But that's going to be for the second part. These are the two most important parts of the cinematic system, and I think with this information, you're ready for part 2. Wait, no. You didn't think that I was gonna let this video end without telling you to have a good day, did you? Well, I thought we knew each other better than that. But yeah, this is the end of the first part of the video. Second part's going to be in the comments, or it's going to be popping up right there in the top right now if it's already out. And, you know, I hope that this wasn't confusing. If something was confusing, please just let me know in the comments. I will happily explain some of it in more detail. But outside of the combat states, you should be able to look up the scene system just by going to the Valve Wiki. But other than that, I appreciate your time. I hope that you have a good day, night, whatever time it is when you watch this video. And then, if you watch the second part right after this, you get to have a double good day, because you'd be hearing it twice on the same day. And if it's a different day, then guess what? You get to have 2 good days. I mean, what? Come on. This is the best deal that you could possibly get, right? It's good days all around. Alright, now you could bring in the damn logo.